I'm not here to judge people. I'm just a little concerned. I was excited. I'm like, cool, the wolf and the vampire. Yes, what can go wrong? It was just based in an emotional deep connection, and that's what we actually want. No one is allowed to judge the content of this cup. It's a beautiful cup, but is it a good content? I know I might be wrong, don't come at me, but I think we should at least open the conversation. Hello! My name is Melanie, and this is the podcast Written with a Y. This is a podcast dedicated, as its name says it, to talking about the why of books. So I usually go over and examine a book and say, what is it about that book that makes it good or makes it bad? What is it that we can take from it? Just really deeply analyzing literature. But I also do topics like this one that are not about any specific book, but about a genre. Today I have a very spicy topic, and not spicy because it has the spice, but because it is very hot topic. People are talking about this. Emotions get really when we talk about this theme. I don't even understand why it is so sensitive, but it is very sensitive. My first disclaimer is that, as the title of this video says, this is my opinion, okay? Do not come at me. What I'm saying is not to police no one's reading habits. I don't want to go and ban certain things from libraries. I do think there are stuff that should be banned from younger audiences. For me, it's just like, oh, this is obvious. No one is gonna debate this. Yes, it has been debated a lot if young romances should have smut and spice. It's not what I'm gonna talk about today, but in the topic of today, that is smut and spice in literature, I am not here. Listen to me, please, before you bring your poison to my comments. You're free to do. That's okay. You can do it. But before you bring it, I really do not care about what you're doing in your house. Like, I can care because I can care about people, and I care about what my friends are doing, and if they're doing anything that is harmful for them, I do care. But I really, it's not my intention to go and just tell you what you should be doing. Yes, I named this video why I think you shouldn't like smut and spice also, but this is why I think you shouldn't, right? Okay, thank you. That disclaimer is put there. I cannot stress this enough. And the reason why I start with the disclaimer is because I know of people that have been completely gone, destroyed because of a post that they made. Like, there was a publisher, a Christian publisher. Okay, that's their religion is Christianity, and obviously Christians will be against smut in books. This Christian publisher, small publisher on Instagram, like a couple thousand followers, and they put in their post, we just want to make clear that our position is that we won't print any stories, any romance books that have smut spice. That's it. They didn't say you shouldn't read it. They didn't say you shouldn't publish it. Thousands of people came to destroy them in the comments. You can do that with me, I guess. You are free to spam my comment section. That's fine, I guess. I'll be a little sad, but it's okay. But I'm just clarifying here that this is my position. Whatever I say next is my position, and just keep that in mind before you clack, okay? Thank you. So let's jump immediately to the reasons why I don't like smut spice, why I don't like that people are doing it. I see the mass consumption of it, and it worries me. Yes, I will put this on the table. It does worry me. After saying, it's my opinion, you can do whatever you want, and I would love to change your mind, I still will claim that I would like for people to be more careful, just seeing the world as a whole and humanity as a whole and women as a whole, and just thinking I wouldn't like this to be something that affects society in the future. I have 3 reasons, okay? So the first one is very, very personal, and is that I am a Christian. So I am convinced that the Bible is against any sexual immorality, and the Bible defines sexual immorality as any type of sexual actions outside of marriage. It also is very clear that it's anything that happens in your mind. So even if you are not committing the act physically, if you are not married and you are having thoughts and doing actions and having imaginations of it, the Bible condemns those types of actions. So that's the first reason, and it's very personal. So if you're a Christian, I think that objectively the Bible condemns that, but obviously this only applies to Christians. Not if you are not a Christian, this doesn't apply to you, and I don't think I should come with my Bible and tell you what you should do. Again, this is a personal belief. The second reason, and this is one that I do apply to other people, is because I think usually, did you hear that word? Usually, okay. I think usually when we have in a romance smut, I believe it usually detracts from the writing style. First, you have that it can detract from the writing style as a whole. As there are so many people, and I will use this word, addicted to read this type of things, or let's say fans of reading this thing, or really, really like it, and buy it all the time, and read it all the time. Others can get away with having bad writing. They just put a bunch of smut or spice, and then the readers don't care that much about how well written is the book, how accomplished, how deep the things that are happening are in the book, just care about the scenes and fantasies that the book is gonna give them. So a bunch of authors can write badly because they know their books are still gonna be sold. That's the first reason. I see that very often with romance books that are just so full of bad writing. Smut doesn't inherently detracts from the writing style, but usually you can see how the writing style is lower because they know they can get away with it just putting a bunch of smut in the book. The other reason why it detracts from the writing is because it usually detracts from the depth of the relationship of the couple that it is portraying. And here I will bring an example. I recently started reading this book, and it's called Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I didn't know what the book was about. I was so unaware. I had not read romance in the longest time. So I don't know. I stopped reading romance when I was a teenager. And in that time, I just read books that didn't have any bad stuff. So I just assumed that if the book was not cataloged as erotica, I just didn't think... You might think I'm dumb, but I really didn't think this was gonna have anything. So I read the first chapter on like the sample on Kindle, and I'm just like, sure, this sounds super cool. Because guys, I like romance. And romantasy is great because it mixes fantasy with romance. And I'm just like, cool, yeah, sure, of course, why not? But I just was not expecting this. And I started reading the book, and the crazy thing, this is like a 400-page book. First 200 pages, nothing. No smut. No spice. It's crazy that it took me like all the way to like here for me to find out that this book had bad stuff. Because it had nothing here, like actually nothing. They were enemies. It's like a kind of-ish enemies to lovers. It's a forced matrimony that is always so fun for me. I like that kind of stuff when you like force two people to be together and they're like, oh no, we don't want to be together, and then they fall in love. Like, I just love it. I know it's a very cliche trope. Like, I don't care, I like it. So I was excited. I'm like, cool, the wolf and the vampire. Yes, what can go wrong? Ha 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 ha. And the sad thing, and here I go to my point, that when there's smut, usually the depth of the couples diminishes, is because so much weight is put into the physical attraction that all the inner attraction just like poof. I guess if you guys have read more than me books with spice, you maybe can tell me a book that where the inner character remained strong still when you have all this smut, but I just have not encountered any of those. In this book, it was so sad, guys, so sad. Because the first half was so good in the relationship. I was like giggling. They had an 11 pages long conversation in one part of this book. 11 pages long dialogue between two people. Usually a dialogue that long tends to be boring, tends to stop, it's not that engaging. Do you know how to make like an 11 pages long dialogue that is engaging the whole way through? That's how it was. Because the relationship was so based in who they were and their emotions and their feelings. They were both very well done characters. I believe in them as characters. I was rooting for them. I liked them. Sometimes I didn't, but it was just well done. I was recommending this book. And then the smut started. They started doing it every 10 pages. And then every 5 pages. And then every other page. It was literally last 200 pages, pure spice. I'm not exaggerating when I say that their relationship went down the toilet. Their emotional connection, the real love that was between them before all this S started happening, disappeared. It was as if the only thing that Hazelwood wanted was to get to the point that they could have their smut, and then she didn't need to create any emotional tension between them because there was so much physical tension that the emotional tension disappeared. And I would argue that that's what happens to us in our relationships. When a relationship becomes too physical too quickly, then you don't realize how lacking it is emotionally, because you feel the same tension, the same attraction physically, and you get confused with that physical attraction, and you don't realize that this person is really not that good for you. That's my problem with these books having all that smut in them. It stops being a real deep emotional connection, and it just becomes a physical connection. Yeah, there's emotions here and there, I know they have to make a plot, but it isn't as deep and as good and as real and as touching as it would be if there wouldn't be all these physical things. Like, even you can even suggest that they are doing their spice thing, and still, for the reader that is just reading the part that is not the spice, you need to work really hard to make this relationship believable, to make this love actually real. Think about Pride and Prejudice. It is one of the romances that has literally survived the test of time. And why is that? Because it was just based in an emotional deep connection, and that's what we actually want. We don't want just a physical connection. My third reason why I do not like smut or spice in books is gonna be the one that I'm gonna take the longest in, and is that I believe that reading smut or spice in books brings many of the consequences of watching porn. There are not many studies done. I haven't found any, not even one. If you guys have one, you can leave it in the comments. But I don't believe there are many studies talking about the consequences of smut in books. However, there are a lot of studies done about the consequences of porn in men and women. And we, as intelligent beings, even though there are not studies of the smut in books right now yet, we still can, as very intelligent beings that we are, reasonable beings, make the connections on our own. If we see something in porn that is exactly the same as in smut, and we have really strong statistics that show that this same thing that is so exactly similar as this one has these consequences, then I think, again, as intelligent beings that we are, before we have the statistics, we still can make the connection and say, there's a big probability that this consequence is also going to be a consequence here. If you want, you can take my claims right now as a hypothesis. That's exactly how I take them. I know this is not law. Again, please don't come at me. I know this is not written in stones. This is just my conclusion of what I think, looking at what porn does to people, what I think that the massive consumption of smut will end up doing, either short term or long term, to women and even men that are consuming this type of content. Now I will give only 2 consequences of porn that I think also apply to smut. I will give only 2 because these are the ones that I think are more related to smut. And also because they are long enough and I don't want to make you feel bored like you're in a lecture. I think these 2 are big enough. The first proven consequence of porn is sexual dissatisfaction. A study made between 2000 and 2016 demonstrated an unexpected and unprecedented increase on sexual difficulties in young men. This study is extremely long and goes and sees like every single change that happened in each of these 16, 17 years. I will link the study in the description. I'm gonna summarize it, and again, you can go and check, verify what I'm saying. But the point is that in 2000, the sexual difficulties that young men were having went from 5% of men to, and this is a crazy number, in 2016, 67% of men. This study demonstrated that in 2000, when this study started, the amount of men that were having sexual dissatisfaction related to watching porn from this group of people, I think it was like 4,000 people that they were doing the study with, was only 5%. And this was on the men that were using porn. Now, in the study done in 2016, there were, of the men in the study, there were 67% of them that were having difficulties. It's another group of men that they did this study with, and all of them were related, at least this is what the study shown, that all of them were related to porn. These 60% of men that were having issues were all because they had a certain level of addiction to porn. And I will read this, that is the conclusion that the researchers had. It says, in talking to the subjects, this is the guys, researchers discovered that high exposure to porn videos apparently resulted in lower responsivity and in an increased need for more extreme, specialized, or kinky material to become aroused. In other words, the study discovered that so much exposure to porn made these guys have a type of desensitization. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that word, but it's like it was hard for them to feel the same things because they were so exposed to them that their bodies and their brains couldn't react again to the same things that would make them feel the sexual desire because of the amount of exposure that they were receiving. They found that they needed like more explicit and more extreme, rare things, you know, to feel this satisfaction because they were almost like numb to it because of the amount of exposure. And now my question is, can't this be the case with books like this? Can it be the case that because women and men, whoever is reading these readers, are reading so much this smut, that they also get numb to these fantasies? And when they try to go to actually be with a partner or be with someone, then they don't feel the same anymore. So they need more extreme things, more extreme things. There is no difference between seeing an image and imagining an image. Sometimes I would say for me, when I read something, my imagination is stronger than even watching it. When I read a horror thing, I say this usually on the podcast, but when I read something about this rare being, this horror story or whatever, like these things just stay like more vivid in my mind. My mind can make it bigger than if I see them. And the same happens with corn or smut or spice. When you read it, you can create the same or even a worse image because things that are not possible to do physically are done, are written in these books, and you can imagine it even more. So isn't it consumption at the end of the day? And again, there's no research on specifically written corn that I think these books are written corn, but it's like, I don't know, let's use logic. Wouldn't this be a maybe possible outcome? This outcome that corn has had in men and is having in men and women that consume it? Couldn't this same outcome come from this thing that is so similar to it? And I know that people don't like comparing corn and smut because one of the worst parts of corn and why it's so horrible is because a lot of these people are trafficked. A lot of these people are not willingly doing this. So you are just helping these industries do more trafficking, earn more money, and just harm people that are not consenting to this. In a book, no one is not consenting. So I know it's not the same in that level. But the question is it or not the same in you? In your emotions, in your psyche? Is it not causing the same horrible, destructive things that corn is causing? And again, if you want, you can go against me and say corn is not causing any horrible thing in young men. Okay, and you just go and hold yourself to that delusion because it is very clear there have been extensive, crazy amount of research showing how harmful corn is to the specific person. But let me not start ranting and go to the second thing. The second bad consequence of watching corn is a relational strain. Several studies have demonstrated that the use of corn in one partner or both partners in a couple, in a relationship, can cause distrust, can cause problems, can cause aggression and separation. So we see it's not only in the personal level, it doesn't only harm you if you are a single person, but it also can harm your relationship. Again, this is a study. These are facts of corn, okay? Not of smut. It hasn't been proven that smut has damaged any relationships yet that I know of. Like, it might have been, but I personally have not read it. However, let's see what was that first specifically it was happening in these case studies where the relationship was damaged because of corn. Let's see first what was very specifically what are the consequences, and then let's see what are the causes of these consequences and maybe make a connection. A study done in 2015 called Differences in Pornography Use Among Couples, used a sample of 1,755 couples, show that the more one person or both partners in a couple were consuming porn, the more negative effects this relationship had in the long run. They had significant increment in male relational aggression, lower female sexual desire, less positive communication, and lower relational satisfaction and stability. So again, these people were having aggression, were having low sexual desire, were having very poor communication in the couple, and less satisfaction and stability in the relationship. And many of those, also the study shows, ended up in breakup. And the question is, why? Why would someone just exploiting their sexuality affect their relationship? Well, again, the study gave plenty of reasons, but I would just list 3 of them. One was that there was sexual dissatisfaction with the partner. And this is very similar to my other point, and is that as these people were interacting with a bunch of material, seeing very unrealistic portraits of a sexual intercourse, they stopped being satisfied with what the partner was giving them. And you say, oh, but there's nothing, so it doesn't happen. It's just why would that affect that? You know, it's a fantasy. You take it as a fantasy and then you go normally to your real life. No, because that's not how our brains work. That's not how they work. They think that that's possible because they have felt the satisfaction of being exposed to this content, and then when they go to their life with their partner, they don't feel the same things, they cannot experience the same things that they made their brains think that they could experience, and that just like creates a dissatisfaction with this partner. Also, the partner, that's from the person that wants these things and cannot take them, but also the other partner, according to this study, could feel also like a pressure on having to meet these standards and frustrated because he or she was not able to meet them. This is again about porn, not about spicing books. But doesn't this kind of seem like it's possible to be the case for both cases? I think it is, because in both cases you're putting unrealistic standards, in both cases you're by yourself with this fake content, and then you go to your partner and then you expect these things to happen here, and you can say, I have read smut and it didn't happen to me. Well, we're talking about an addiction, right? We're talking about an excessive consumption of these things that eventually lead on these beliefs, not that one time you read one thing. The second reason that this study concluded was a feeling of betrayal from the partner. So porn, again, not talking about the books, but porn made the other partner feel that they were being betrayed. And this is what happens with us complicated human beings. We want to believe that our sexual life has nothing to do with our emotions. It's just a physical thing that we do, like showering and like eating. It has something to do. Like, that's why when we love people really deeply, and that's how it should actually be. It shouldn't be with like just with anyone you find in the streets. It should be with someone that is committed emotionally to you. And in my case, I think it should be with someone you have a covenant of marriage. But regardless of how deep you think the relationship should be, that interaction is when you really love a person, and when you are connected to them emotionally, then your bodies connect too, and there is something deeper happening there. So when you are getting those things from a fake story, from porn, you are connecting deeply with whichever you are seeing there, or with yourself. Like, something is not okay happening here, but you are definitely not connecting deeply with your partner, with whomever you're connecting there in your mind or whatever. It's not with your partner. And there's a sense of betrayal. And again, the world can be like, no, that's not, it is. That's how it goes. And I don't know of whom of you that has happened, but at least if it would happen to me, I would feel betrayed by my partner. Is that unforgivable? No, it's not. And that's something that we can work together, but it's not comfortable, you know? So a lot of these people felt betrayed by their partner, and that took away the trust and the stability of the relationship. Bring in the books. If your woman is having a bunch of things, or man is having a bunch of with a book, maybe it is not porn, but I don't see the difference. One is watched, the other one is read, but both are here and both are in your body, and you are not doing it with your partner. That's the point. Lastly, one of they give more reasons than these 3, but the last one I'm gonna give is that there was a lack of emotional closeness with the partner, a lot of times because the person watching the porn would like spend more time doing that, and also was more focus on their addiction that they were in their relationship, and also they were like distracted by the thoughts on this fantasy porn, which makes me also think what can happen when someone is consuming, like massively consuming these books with spice and smut, and also are just attached to emotionally more to this and disattached to their partners. The question would be, as we don't have a lot of studies on this, maybe you are a researcher and you can do them, I certainly am not, but as we don't have a lot of studies on this, but we can use our little brains that God has given us to make logic connections with things, I think we can think, are these horrible consequences only and exclusively to watch porn? Or is there a way in which reading it can influence all negatively? And maybe it is less. Maybe it is less than porn can do. But porn really makes people addicted to that and really messes up with your brain. And I'm just scared, okay? Because I'm not a police. These are my little notes. I'm not a police. I don't care. Like, if I see someone reading one of those books that I know that have a bunch of corn in them, I will not care. Like, I will not be like, oh, look at that. No, I don't care. I was reading this publicly. I put it on Instagram like, oh, this is so good. And then I had to swallow my words. So a bunch of people watched me reading this and I didn't even know what he had on. So I hope. I hope that no one is judging other people and just pointing at them. I have, like, if I don't sing or if I don't err on this area, I err in so many areas and I just like do so many things that are wrong, and I hope people don't come at me with stones and kill me. Like, I'm not here to judge people. I'm just a little concerned with what I see. I'm just concerned that as this spice, this corn, it's just almost like with a costume of, oh, this is just a romance book, or this is just a book, who cares? Like, don't worry, why? This is not that big of a deal. I'm just concerned that because of the vessel, because of the cup in which this, in my opinion, poison is being given, then no one is allowed to judge the content of this cup. It's a beautiful cup, but is it a good content? Is it going to harm us? And I'm also scared that no one is going to be able to do the same research because it's just so judged when you raise a concern. So I might be wrong, okay? I know I might be wrong, don't come at me, but I think we should at least open the conversation. And I know the conversation has been open, but I know that also that usually when someone tries to open this conversation, it is closed with an iron fist. All these people just come and just like stab the person that was trying to say, this might be bad, no bueno, no sounds bueno, no sounds bueno. So I'm just trying here to say, it's not crazy, you know? It's not crazy to think that this might have all the negative impacts that porn has on men, objectively has on men, and relationships, like on our daily lives. How is it affecting us? And these men and even women are coming saying about porn, and they say, like, no one is telling them, like, you're addicted, they are the ones that come to these studies and are just like, please help me. I am destroyed, I am depressed, I cannot find satisfaction in life, I'm sad because of this. This is actually a real problem for some people, a lot of people actually. And the question is, are these books also creating this same type of negativity in us? And if that's the case, are we ever allowed to say, wait, maybe this is not good? Not a felony, but maybe it's also not a good thing. Okay, I won't keep talking because I can talk forever. You know that about me, guys. This is... It has been a pleasure to be with you. I know this is a polemical theme, maybe not my favorite themes to bring, but I really wanted to put my thoughts out there. I am concerned, so this might help you, this might not help you. Maybe it's gonna make you not like me, and that's okay. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.